literacy in Alberta. Now, first off, for those of you who can hear me, we are going to just have question period at the end of the presentation. So if you have a question, in the little section of attendees where your name is, there's a little hand, or on the side panel, there's a hand or a question mark. I will look for those and unmute you so you can ask your questions. So just so you know, but that's at the end. So our presenter today is Christina Pickles. She's the program coordinator for the Alberta Council for Environmental Education, which is a nonprofit organization supporting formal and non-formal environmental education for all audiences in Alberta. So I will change my presenter to, or actually I'll just give the keyboard and mouse to Christina. Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you, Meredith. Let me just give me a moment to open the slideshow. All right. Meredith, can you see a slide that says water literacy in Alberta?
Yes, I think we're all working now.
Excellent. All right, thank you, Meredith, for the introduction, and thank you for the opportunity from the Alberta Water Council to talk a little bit about water literacy in Alberta. So this is a short, quick presentation. So just so you know, we were not going to get super deep into a lot of things. We're going to be skipping over the surface of a bunch of different topics. There'll be a question period at the end. But again, if you want to know more about any of the things I touch on in this presentation, please feel free to contact me, and I'll share my contact information at the end. So there's 3 parts to this presentation. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about the Alberta Council for Environmental Education and what we do, so you have some context and background. I'm going to then move into some of the work we've done around environmental literacy. We're not experts in water literacy, but we can, obviously there's strong connections between environmental literacy and water literacy. And I think what I'll give you are some elements of an environmentally literate citizen that can transfer very well into what makes a water literate person. And then I'll finish the presentation with 3 opportunities, really great opportunities in Alberta right now to advance water literacy. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so the Alberta Council for Environmental Education, I will call us ACE from this point forward. It's a little bit of a mouthful to say our name, so I'll go with our acronym. We were created in 2005 with a mission to work collaboratively to advance environmental education in Alberta. So we work to move environmental education from the margins, where it's been for a long time, into the mainstream. So that's our focus. We are a nonprofit, so we have a board of 11 people, and this group shot shows a fraction of our board. So on our board we have other nonprofits, people from the formal education sector, from the business sector, from governments of all levels. We have 4 staff. Up at the top 4 there is Gareth Thompson. He's our executive director. Next to him is Kathy Warbeck. She's our education director. Below Gareth there is Rose Marie Ferjuk, and she's our program assistant. And then me. So you know what this voice over the internet looks like. I'm Christina Pickles, and I'm the program coordinator. So ACE, when it was created, identified 6 roles for the organization. So we champion environmental education. We convene environmental education stakeholders. We facilitate leadership. We build networks. We help increase the capacity of environmental education, and we connect the environmental education community. So people ask, so will you come to my group and talk about water? And I'm like, no, I won't come, but I can connect you to the people who do. So we support the people who deliver excellent environmental education in the province. And our definition of environmental education is for all audiences. So environmental education, public outreach, all those things is what we call environmental education. But obviously a big portion of what we do is for teachers. There's over 30,000 students in the province, so teachers have a big role in environmental education. So we help teachers find out about and access quality teaching resources. We support their professional learning, and we work with Alberta Education to ensure environmental education appears in new curriculum. And I'm going to talk more about this opportunity that's available right now with the curriculum redesign. So I'll get to that near the end of the presentation. We also support a group of people that we call agency professionals, basically for a lack of a better term. So agency professionals are people who deliver environmental education and outreach outside the formal education realm. So they could work for government, they could be nonprofits, they could be corporations. Anyone, probably most of you on the phone, would be qualified as agency professionals. So we help that group of environmental educators build their professional and organizational capacity. We showcase and share their resource and programs, and we bring them together to support their collaborative efforts. Those are a couple of things we do. And we have a whole pile of really excellent programs. I won't go into them, but this is our website. And if you want to keep up to date on what we're doing, we do have 2 really excellent newsletters that go out monthly that share upcoming events, resources, that sort of thing. That's the best way to keep up to date on the things that we're doing. Or you can just contact me. Okay, so that's a little bit about ACE and who we are, just so you kind of know where we're coming from as we move forward. So I'm going to move into a little bit about what environmental education and literacy is. And as you are all coming at this from a water literacy, a water background, so maybe keep that in mind as I go forward. How does water literacy fit into this bigger picture of environmental literacy? And I don't think it's a huge jump. So in the last year or so, I've been noticing the word literacy come up more often. So we went to a conference in November on energy literacy, and water literacy is a term that's been coming up. So as opposed to using the word education, we seem to be jumping to this word literacy. And so first thing in my mind is, okay, what's the difference between this literacy thing and environmental education? And so the way that we explain it as environmental literacy is the outcome of environmental education. So environmental education is the process that we use to get to environmental literacy. So that's just a quick definition to give you an idea of how the term literacy and education go together. Okay. For quite a long time, people have been thinking a lot about this model here. The idea that if people were just aware, and if they just knew about wetlands, they would do something about it. So that whole idea that if people had enough awareness and knowledge, that would lead to action. This is a very simple way to look at it, and we know it's way more complicated than this. I know about a lot of things, I'm aware of a lot of things, but it does not directly lead me to do anything about it. So I think we have to move away from this very simplified version of how environmental education works. If we just tell someone about it passionately enough, they'll write that letter, they'll plant that tree, they'll conserve that water. So it is way more complicated, which is exciting as well. So what is the process of environmental education? So if you look at these 3 components, knowledge and awareness is part of that. So we do have to increase knowledge and awareness about the environment and the associated challenges. But we also have to help people develop the skills to address these challenges, and that includes very practical skills. How do you plant that tree? To critical thinking skills. And probably the most challenging and difficult is when we get into the attitudes, motivation, and commitment around making informed decisions and responsible action. So in the last 30 years, we've spent a lot of time writing pamphlets and fact sheets and websites and the information galore. It's way more challenging to get into the skills and how do you actually influence people's attitudes and motivations. Those are big, hairy questions, and that is a possibility on why we've kind of stayed away from them for the last 30 years. But we need to start moving into these things. And there's some really excellent examples of organizations that are giving people the really great skills and building that community. One that comes to mind is someone like Cows and Fish that help people develop the skills to actually make change on their land. So that's some of my personal opinion that's thrown in there. But how do we get at that skills and attitudes, motivation, and commitment piece as opposed to another fact sheet? Okay. All right. This is another way of looking at it, and our Alberta Environment and Sustainable Resource Development friends on the phone will recognize that this is their ladder that they're working with. But they did not create it. It came from a well-researched and respected group. But that whole idea of, yes, knowledge and awareness are in there, but we also have to consider attitudes, skills, and how do we get people to take collective action on various issues and topics. And when we have to also realize that you don't have to start with awareness. You can start with skills. You can start with attitudes and move out from there. We don't need to always start with that awareness piece. So that's a little bit about the process of environmental education and what it is. And what does it actually look like? It can look like any of these things that you see in front of you. It can be a group of farmers in a field learning about better practices. It can be a nature hike. It can be citizen science. It can be learning in the classroom. It can be a bunch of adults gathered around a computer learning how to do something better together. So environmental education, the whole process can look like any of these things and a whole lot more. I'm just going to briefly talk about the elements of an environmentally literate person. So as part of Alberta Education's curriculum redesign, 2 years ago, we had a grant from Alberta Education to work on an environmental education framework. So we worked with Dr. Liza Ireland to create this framework, and it is specific to the K-12 education system. But I think the broad elements that we focused on apply across the board, whether you are 5 years old or 80 years old. These are the elements that make up a really great environmentally literate / water literate person. So I'll briefly tell you these 3 elements. If you want to learn about them in more depth and see how we've applied it to the K-12 education system, you can download our full report. It's 150 pages, but there's also an executive summary that you can go to as well. And it will get into more detail. So I'm just going to skip over the surface of this. Also, if you do want to talk to someone about this framework, I would direct you to Kathy Warbeck or Gareth Thompson, who are very closely involved in the development of this framework. So what are the 3 elements that we came up with? So the first one is around interconnections. And that statement there is an indicator. So if a person gets this, what do they understand? So I understand how ecological and social systems and processes are interdependent and influence personal and collective well-being. And in all of these elements, you'll start to notice that it's not just about the ecological. To fully be an environmentally literate person, you need to also understand how humans fit into this whole system. So that whole interconnections between humans, the whole understanding the pieces and the components of ecological systems, that's a big idea for environmentally literate people to really get. Interconnections is number 1. Well, not numbers. They're not ranked. The next one is diversity. So I value the significance of biological and cultural diversity, as well as diverse perspectives in developing personal, cultural, global, and environmental responsibility. So understanding that there are many bugs in the stream, there are many different users of water, and how do we all fit together. So understanding that diversity is important for the environmentally literate person. And the third one is around responsibility and citizenship. And this indicator gets into that taking action. How do you developing those skills to take action and that lead to change. So I can contribute positively to furthering a sustainable society by investing in and evaluating the need for change and designing, creating, and implementing viable solutions that support our interconnected systems. So those are pretty big. Interconnections, diversity, and responsibility and citizenship. Those are really huge ideas. The next step that we took in the framework was to break those down for each grade level. There's things you can do connected to each of those big ideas in K to 3, 4 to 6, all the way up, and you can extend it beyond the K to 12 education system. So the programs that we develop should address these things. How do we address interconnections? How do we address diversity? And how do we address responsibilities and citizenship? So all the work that Liza did was very much based in research on this topic, what's happening in other jurisdictions. These aren't things that we just pulled out of thin air. They're based on great work that's been done around the world. All right. Whew. Okay, we're moving quickly. And as some of you who may have done webinars before know that it's all I hear out there is silence. So I assume you're all engaged in writing down good questions to ask after this. All right, so that was a little bit about what environmental education and literacy can look like. And like I said, ACE isn't an expert in water literacy, but those components can definitely be applied to water literacy quite easily. Okay, now I'm going to move into 3 different opportunities to advance water literacy in the province. There's some really exciting things that are coming together that we can really use to advance this work. So first of all, as I mentioned before, there's a huge opportunity presenting itself right now with curriculum redesign. So Alberta Education started down this path about four years ago with the Inspiring Education process, where they toured the province, talked to a whole pile of people on what we wanted the education system to look like in the future. It was more than just changing the curriculum. It was really looking at the philosophy behind the K-12 education system. And it was really exciting what we saw coming out of that, and ACE has been involved since the beginning, contributing to the documents, sitting at the tables and offering our ideas on that, and really obviously focusing on how environment fits into this. So right now, where they're at with this redesign process is school boards. Several school boards have been given contracts to basically draft up some outcomes for the different age groups and different subject areas. So they're kind of getting down to the actual nitty-gritty now. Like, what's going to be, what are kindergarten kids going to learn about science, and what's going to look like, what is it going to look like for grade 1, all that sort of stuff. So they're, again, at the very beginning of this process, but it is an opportunity right now, and it's an opportunity and window that probably won't open for the rest of our lives. This is really unique for us to have environment as a bigger piece, and water could be a part of that as well. So ACE is doing several things to help that. We're sitting at many of the community tables for the curriculum redesign. One of the things the school boards have to do as they develop this curriculum is talk to the community and make sure that and bringing a diversity of voices to that table. So ACE has put itself at that table, and we want to be sure that we have ideas and suggestions ready to go when it comes to environment and all the topics therein. So we're starting to pull, based on our framework, pulling together some of those outcomes that can be plugged directly into the curriculum potentially. And we also want to make sure that people focus on different topic areas also have an opportunity to share what they think should be in the curriculum. So what should be in grade 1 when it comes to water? And so we have a couple of opportunities that we're looking for feedback from the water education community, or water community in general, people who are passionate about water education. Next week is our conference, and at our conference we have 3 hours dedicated to this curriculum redesign piece where people are going to be working in their topic areas. So we have a group of water educators that are going to get together, look at some broad environmental outcomes that we might propose to go into curriculum, and also spend some time looking just at water education and starting to pull out what should go in grade 4 curriculum about water, or what could go in the grade 4 curriculum about water. So we're going to get a start on that at our conference, and then that will be fed into our Communities of Practice program, which I'll get to in a moment, to help refine that. So if this document could be used in many different ways to help advance water literacy, specifically in the K-12 system. Okay, so that's one really awesome opportunity that's coming up to advance water literacy. Another opportunity is the Water Education Community of Practice. So ACE started these communities of practice just over 2 years ago as a response to the environmental education community that were like, you know, I work by myself a lot. I don't have anyone to talk to. I'd really like to get together with my colleagues. So we created these communities of practice as a space and opportunity for not just it's mostly water educators, but we get people coming from other aspects of water, the water world as well, to share resources. Here's the list of things we do. Share resources. So if I have a grade 5 lesson plan, I can share that with you as opposed to you having to create it yourself. Creating the space for collaborative opportunities. There are so many times when we repeat or we duplicate what's already being done. Why don't we pool resources and work together? And we've had some really great examples of how the community's practice has already helped people meet each other and start collaborating and pooling their resources. We celebrate different programs. So I did this and it worked really well. But we also want to learn what isn't working and learn from each other. The whole idea of influence is connected with the K-12 education system. All the communities of practice that we have are very interested in that topic. And the last one is to sustain. Communities of practice, when you're developing relationships like this, it takes time, and we need to sustain this type of group over the long term. So these are the things the community of practice wants to do together. And so currently there are 143 members, obviously involved at different levels. We have some face-to-face meetings. We try and have a province-wide one every year. Of course, also the conference is that opportunity. We've done some regional meetings and professional development opportunities as well. We have an online community, so we have a website. We also have a Google group where people can post questions and requests, and it's been a really great venue where people can say, hey, I need some ideas for a Girl Guide program, and I don't have the time to create one. And you post that, and you get people sharing their information with you. So that online community is part of it. And we also, again, help to build those collaborative relationships. And this community of practice is also a great resource as we move forward with this K-12 curriculum redesign. We can take what we learn at the conference from water educators and develop a working group with the community of practice members to help refine that. So if you want to be kept up to date and get involved in the community of practice, you can just sign up. You can sign up as a member, and you'll get some summary newsletters so you kind of know what's going on, and you'll be connected with different events that are coming up. So that's the communities of practice. And I must say, of all the communities of practice we have 5 on various topics. The water education one is the most active and the most engaged. So pat yourselves on the back, water people. You are a very active learning community. And finally, the third opportunity that is really exciting is the Alberta Water Council's Water Literacy Project. And this actually demonstrates one of the uses of the communities of practice. Is that November in our last meeting, we were sitting around talking about different water education things happening, and Erin from ALMS puts up her hand and talks about this opportunity she saw come across her email about the water literacy, and so we jumped right on that as well. So and I'm sure Meredith is leading this, so she can probably speak more eloquently than I about it. But ESRD has requested the Alberta Water Council work on this water literacy project. So the purpose of the project is to provide information and analysis on water literacy that will help build Alberta Environment and Sustainable Resource Development's water literacy strategy, and provide relevant, useful information to other key stakeholders participating in water literacy and water education. So specifically for ESRD, but that information will be really useful to the larger water education community as well. Really looking forward to what this group can come up with. And these are the list of the project objectives. So work on defining water literacy for assessment purposes, an inventory of existing products and services related to water literacy. That's really cool. What's already happening out there and who's doing what. Look at best practices, what's happening around the world around water literacy, and what should we do here. To determine current water literacy levels in Albertans. That's a really great background piece that we can then build on. And then provide recommendations on improving water literacy in Alberta. So those are the objectives moving forward with the Alberta Water Council's Water Literacy Project. So these 3 opportunities, the K-12, the curriculum redesign, the communities of practice, and this water literacy project go together really well, and it's exciting time for water literacy in Alberta. Hopefully over the next 3 or 4 years we can really help move this topic forward. Okay, wowza.
Well, thank you.
Great. Any questions?
Yeah, it's very informative. So for the attendees, please look on your panel for a hand or a question, and I will look out for you, and I will unmute you so you can ask your question, if there is any question.
Can they also type them in the box as well, Meredith?
Yeah, definitely type in questions, and if there is no questions, which here we go, hands raised. All right, so Gareth Thompson, go ahead.
This probably has a comment and not a question.
Gareth, can you hear us? Okay. John Skoronsky, go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment. It's John Skoronsky, and I want to thank Christina and Meredith for pulling this together. It was very informative, and thanks for taking the time to share the information. I think it's some valuable work, and I like the process that you described in terms of your framework and really trying to increase the knowledge and really trying to understand from an educational standpoint how the various things that students might be learning are taken out of, I'll call it a silo approach, into a sort of connection dependency process. So I think that's very valuable, and I commend the work that you're doing. So thanks for taking the time.
And that you're really hit on something really important there. Is this new curriculum is also looking a lot at cross-curricular connections, so getting out of that whole science is this, there still be subjects like that, but really making those connections between the science and the social side of things. So that's definitely going to be an element of the new curriculum, and lots of opportunity for inquiry-based learning and project-based learning that we're pretty excited about.
Thanks for saying that better than I did, Christina.
All right. Okay, I'm going to unmute Kim McLeod. Go ahead, Kim. Kim?
Sorry, I've got you on hands-free mute, so...
Okay, well, we can hear you, so go ahead.
Okay, I'm just wondering, Christina mentioned the communities of practice through Google, I think it's through Google, and I'm just wondering if there's I'm interested in that, and I'm just wondering if there's a way, or if somebody could provide information, if it's possible, on how to get involved or to link into that.
Yes, well, that's a good question. You can, if you go to our website, abcee.org/COP/water, you can get to the Water Education Community of Practice webpage, and from there, there's a Join This Community of Practice, so you can easily sign up as a member, and then you'll be kept up to added to the list to be kept up to date on what's happening. So that would be the best way. And I can send out some information to Meredith as well, and maybe she can share it with everyone that's on the phone.
Definitely.
Sorry, can you just, I'm on the website, can you just say the last part about where on the website?
If you go under Our Work, and there's a drop-down that says Community of the Practice, and then there's a Water Education one, if you find that.
Okay, thanks, Kim. And so, Mary Thompson, I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you. I was interested to know that this group exists. I sort of knew it did, but I wasn't really familiar with your work. And I would tell you that the model that you have, the two-sided model, which is the conversation between the environment and the social, the human being, is very central to how environmental sociology is structured. There are some excellent textbooks on that. And it's a fascinating area, and so much of what you, it's an undergraduate textbook actually, or I suppose it could even be used at the graduate level. But water is very central in that, and there are several people in the province, especially at the University of Alberta, who are really deeply involved in water at the global level, and see it as the next crisis, the next social and economic crisis in our environments.
Yeah, and I think water that's a really good point. Thanks for sharing. And I think water is a really excellent way to connect people with their environment. I think water is a really excellent medium, I guess, to do that. So, yeah, thanks for sharing. I'd love to connect with some of those U of A people as well to share their knowledge.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I know at least one of them from, and I can send you the contact. He has been covered on some of the big nature programs as well.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I am just looking for. Oh, here we go. Susanna Bruno, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you have thought of any strategies that we could use to reach the general public beyond the K-12 group.
Well, there's lots of opportunities. I know you guys at the Battle River are doing really great stuff. Yeah, it is, K-12 is something, I mean, kids have to go to school, they have to learn things, so we often focus on them, but I think finding those strategies to reach the public beyond K-12 is something we need to do more about. I think one of the big aspects that I get really excited about are things that work on building community around certain topics. Again, I think of cows and fish. They do a really excellent job of that, and I know you guys at the Battle River do really good job of bringing people together around community to talk about water. I think it's more than the fact sheets and the pamphlets. It's about reaching those non-traditional audiences, and I don't know how to do it. I don't have any answers. But yeah, that would be something definitely maybe it's something the community practice could work on. Just finding some best practices on working with those other audiences.
Okay, I don't see any other hands raised.
You couldn't get Gareth on at all?
There we go. You, Gareth. I'm going to unmute you. Okay, Gareth, go ahead.
Hi there, guys. Test 1, 2. Can you hear?
Yes.
All right. Thanks. I was sitting here beaming proudly as Christina hit a home run on this topic, and thanks for the invite, folks. I'm the Executive Director of the Alberta Council for Environmental Education. I wanted to comment on the notion of, somebody talked about environmental sociology and the correctness in not just focusing on environment, but thinking about society. And those folks will be aware, of course, that it doesn't take long in a conversation like that for economy to be invoked as well. And many of the challenges to water stewardship in this province are because of the economic side and economic drivers, thinking of the oil sands debate where so much water is used in industrial uses. And so I've actually heard a guy by the name of Peter Watson, who was a Deputy Minister of Environment, say that he didn't talk about society, but he did talk about economy. And he said energy and environment are two sides of the same coin. And I just wanted to put out there that in our work with prototyping, we are thinking really hard about, and I guess I'll throw this out for your consideration too, as folks in the room on the webinar think about and try to promote water literacy, and ACE's big job these days is to show our relevance to all of the school divisions who are helping build new curriculum through this prototyping process. And we've had great success in saying, you know what, yes, we're called the Alberta Council for Environmental Education, and we care about energy, and we care about environment, and we care about society, and we care about economy, and this notion of the interconnectedness of those three things and the interdependence between them is a big deal for us. So we're actually trying to help promote, believe it or not, energy education as in lockstep with environmental education, because then to get people's attention. And they say, okay, so you're talking about the whole big picture, because that's what we have to deal with in our area. And we will keep our eye on the prize, which is environmental stewardship, but we'll also be creating curriculum-ready stuff that has to do not just with pure environment or pure water, but also to do with energy and some of the other literacies that are relevant to understanding how to move this province to a sustainable future. So that's all. I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to Christina's inclusion of the society piece and riff on that a tiny bit here.
Excellent. Well, I think there's no other questions unless somebody wants to throw up their hand right now. Otherwise, thank you so much, Christina, for your presentation. It was great. And Susanna has a question right now, so we'll just do one more question here from Susanna. I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead, Susanna.
Sorry. I guess this is a bigger question for everybody involved with, well, I guess typically the water literacy topic, but I think we need to think about what our deeper question is. I mean, we have, I haven't been in all the conversations, but according to the terms of reference, I don't see like a vision or like what's the deep why that we're trying to accomplish? Like if it's just, if our why is to educate people. I don't think that's a good enough reason. I think we need to look a little bit deeper and to say, well, why do we want to educate people? What is our what is our deeper why? What is our actual vision for what we want to be happening in our province, on the landscape, in our watershed?
That's a very good question. Sharina, I'm going to let you talk, Sharina. She's our ESRD girl. I just have to find you and unmute you, so just bear with me. Sharina, here we go. Go for it, Sharina.
I just typed in that our why, anyways, our guiding vision and why we're engaged in environmental literacy work is to ultimately get people to think, plan, and act with the environment in mind. And when we talk about water literacy, it's with our water resources in mind. So our deputy minister and leadership talk about creating this culture of stewardship, and so we're in the process of thinking, okay, well, what does stewardship actually mean for water resources, and what does that look like for various audiences? So it's moving people up that ladder to be able to support and foster the behavior and the action that we need them to participate in order to achieve various water-related outcomes, if that makes sense. That's how we talk about it anyways in the government, is water-related outcomes, like according to the Water for Life strategy and various other guiding strategies, I guess. So we know we need people to do things in order to achieve the outcomes we see for water management, and so it's looking at how can we support that action and that behavior change. Does that help?
Susanna, you're still unmuted.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely good. I can resonate with that, and I've just been reading some articles, and really, I think what you're talking about is how do we build capacity for people to be able to do those things? How do we build community capacity to act in a water stewardship kind of a?
Yeah, and it's about reaching them where they are too. So, and that's where the assessment of literacy levels among Albertans is important. So if we're reaching a certain person that has like no awareness whatsoever of water and how it works, then we need to customize and tailor our education initiatives to be able to support them to get up the ladder towards the action that we know we need to have.
Okay, well, I think we've gone well over. Again, thank you, Christina, and thank you for everyone who participated and listened to the webinar and participated in the questions. So I'm going to end the webinar. And again, thank you very much, and look out for our next one. It's probably going to be on our lake management project.
Thanks so much for the opportunity, Meredith. And there's lots of, this community to practice is a great place for us to start exploring some of these questions a bit deeper. So thank you again, and I look forward to meeting you all at some point.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.